wanted to make a comedy that dealt with the subject matter I was grappling with in my life, but with a light hand. I like to jump back and forth between tragedy and comedy. So for me, this was a really important moment and step to tell the story of a woman whose story would otherwise not be told, but also tell it with a sense of humor and a bit of experience. You know, I feel like sometimes it's films can be.
We're gonna do a group shot.
I'm sorry, I'm hearing a lot of noises and I get confused sometimes. I was going to say that it matters a lot to me that I stood behind my film and put my face on it and was able to represent myself and the communities that I was born into.
So while making the film, what was the most difficult experience that you encountered while making this film?
Most difficult experience?
I heard in production or in the whole process?
Both.
Okay. I will say in production, the most difficult thing was in the beginning to find the balance between directing and acting. I would find that sometimes I would get very distracted by the monitor. I would be thinking about a shot or thinking about notes I wanted to give in the middle of a scene, and after a few hours on set, I realized that I couldn't continue working that way. You know, that it would be that if I were in a scene, I'd have to be 100% in a scene and cut out that part of my head. And once I got into the groove of doing that, it was a real joy, like incredible experience.
Last question.
Yeah.
This is the first film, or
Yes.
do you have any other line of work that you're working on?
Yes, actually. I'm doing an animated web series for a website that Sony is developing. It's called, the website's called Astronauts Wanted.
What is it called?
Astronauts Wanted? Astronauts, yeah, sorry. And it's a website for teen girls, and I'm making an animated web series comedy inspired by my traumatic experiences as a teen girl growing up in a New York City private prep school.
I wish you good luck.
Thank you.
Your film.
Thank you so much. Yeah, please.
This is something that I've come to relate to. That's why I want to see your film.
I'd love to hear what you think afterwards, or what if you related
This is
to
my
it.
film that I'm working on.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, so we wasting money on to Kickstarter, so check it out later.
Yeah, I did a Kickstarter for a web series, and it was an amazing experience. Yeah, thank you. You too. Good luck to you too.
The fact that I wanted to tell the story, the fact that I wanted to tell a very simple, linear narrative story, and I don't know, because it's been 7 years, so I don't know exactly the point where I said, okay, this is the movie that I want to make. But I think over the years of 7 years that I've been trying to make this film, a lot has changed over time. And, you know, because of the social conditions that people live in and the political scenario of that area, a lot has changed and incorporated in the screenplay as well. So that's how this whole film came about. So I don't remember the exact inspiration, but I do talk about migrant laborers and displacement. I wouldn't say that their plight is my inspiration, but I did address the issue.
That's wonderful. So are you working on another project?
Yes, I am. It's too early to talk about the project because it's in the writing process, but I hope it doesn't take as long as I took to make my first film. And I hope I'm back at Sundance.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Okay, picture with them?
Yes, of course.
Okay.
And now we're going to be on television soon. So we're available on iTunes and Amazon, and it's going through the various distribution points. We've also had incredible sales in France. We were in theaters for 6 months, all over France, and so it's been pretty great.
I can't wait to see it. I haven't seen it yet.
Yes.
But I was waiting for the caption.
Oh yes, the captions on DVD. There's captioning. Yes. Oh.
I'll get in touch with you.
Okay. Oh gosh, you know Carolyn website or Carolyn Labresco here at Sundance, if it's here, or the Schomburg where I am. Okay.
So, what are you working on next?
Well, so next I am working on a narrative, and so I've been here at Sundance pitching it because I'm part of the Women's Filmmaker Initiative, and it's a story that is like the documentaries that I've made. My documentaries are action-oriented. I haven't said the title yet. My documentaries have been action-oriented, and this story takes place in 1860, so there's no footage. So of course I have to tell the narrative, and it's an action story about a woman who steals herself away to freedom, and then goes back 19 times to commandeer and save and free hundreds of other slaves.
I'm sure. So, do you have to stand up for that picture?
Do I have to stand up for that pitch?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
I want to pitch up.
No. It's been meetings. Sundance has been great. So now I'm part of the Women's Filmmaker Initiative. It is, bye Ann, thank you. Yeah, so it's been really great. That support, because it expands my network in a way that is incredible. I have access to people I wouldn't have access to otherwise.
One last question.
Yes.
Are you aware that we lack representation of deaf people of color? I am a filmmaker, and I'm trying to change that.
Yes.
And I have a car. I just bumped you outside with my car. What are your advice for that?
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing that I am constantly told about the stories I want to tell. There's no audience. Who's the audience? And so really what you're doing is you're dealing with business people, and you have to prove your model. You have to kind of say, okay, these are the people I'm reaching. This is how I'm reaching them. And so that you, as a filmmaker, are an entrepreneur. You're not just a storyteller.
Yes, I am.
Yeah, exactly. That's what we have to be. It's
a silent drop.
Exactly.
Don't give up.
And I think one of the things that we didn't address on the panel is that there are great moments of discouragement or despondence, and you might ask yourself, why am I doing this? Can I finish it? But you don't dwell in those moments. You have them, you recognize them, and then you move on. Because your end goal is the result, which is the film, and getting it to its audience.
Great, thank you.
No problem. Thank you.
Your film. What are your plans?
For my plans right now, the film that I'm making right now, well, my plan is to go home on Thursday, and I'm sorry, could you say that again? Sure, I'm going to go home on Thursday. I'm going to wake up on Friday morning in New York. I'm going to go to Brooklyn, and I'm going to sit with a friend, and I am going to show her my latest rough cut, and I'm going to seek the advice of a very good storyteller to help me think about where my story is really working and where my story is a little weak, and maybe where my heart is a little weak or where my fears are, and try to figure out what I need to do. Because I've been on hiatus with this movie, I had to put it on simmer, and now I have to go back to cooking. The name of the movie is Cooked. The name of the movie is Cooked. So I'm going back into the thinking, editing room, a little calmer, a little more open, and open to kind of looking at my material without judgment. Because sometimes we're our own worst editors, you know. So then I have like 6 or 7 months to finish editing, and then hopefully, who knows, maybe I'll come back here with a completed movie and premiere it. But if not here, somewhere else in 2015.
You will finish it. I have faith in you.
Oh, thank you. And what kind of movies do you make?
Right now, I'm making. I don't need that.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Anyway, my short film is called Shattered Mind. And it's based on a story about a teenage girl who has flashbacks and bad dreams. Flashbacks and bad dreams.
Yeah.
And when she was little,
she fell, hit her head, and she ended in a coma.
In a coma.
So she lost her hearing. The whole family's dead. She struggles. to make sense of her identity.
Oh, she doesn't remember that she's deaf? Oh.
As a matter of fact,
And a matter of
it's
fact,
inspired by my story.
inspired by my secret story, and I was in a coma for a few weeks, and I lost my hearing.
We're in post-production right
We're in
now.
post-production right now,
I'm trying to raise
and I'm trying to raise 10,000 more to finish the project. And I'm editing right now. I have a rough cut up to 10 minutes.
The short film is how many minutes?
About 40 minutes.
40 minutes.
Oh.
But originally it was 7:30. We're having a hard time with $1 million, so I said, this is crazy. Why don't I make it? Cut it, make it short. And I feel I'll be more successful.
Wow. Can you send me? Maybe I could show it to someone that from our fund. Anyway, we don't exactly fund narratives, but I'd be so interested in seeing it here. I don't think there's a whole lot of deaf filmmakers out there, are there? Are there a lot of deaf filmmakers?
No.
Are there any black women deaf filmmakers? Are you it?
Deaf
Are you it? You're the only black deaf woman filmmaker?
There are. There's another
There's another
African
African-American deaf filmmaker, and she's a newcomer.
Yeah, she's studying film.
She studied film.
I got it there, but they have been around for 20 years.
Oh, so did you start making films before you lost your hearing?
After.
You started making films after you lost your hearing?
Yeah.
Wow.
So, tell me about your film and what are your plans?
Yes, I have a short film here called The Lion's Mouth Opens, and it's about a friend of mine who has a disease in her family called Huntington's disease, which is a very scary genetic disease. And because her father suffers from this disease, that gives her a 50% chance of having it herself. And she wants to go and get tested to find out, is she going to get this scary disease herself, or is she totally free and clear with no problems? And it's a very scary medical test, and it's just a short film, 15 minutes long, that follows her through that experience of getting very scary medical results. And she's a wonderful young woman, actor, director, very beautiful and inspirational, and it's amazing to watch her go through this very difficult journey.
Great. I look forward to seeing it.
Yeah.
I look forward to seeing it.
Oh, thank
And
you.
do you have another line of project you're working on now?
Yeah, I do. I'm writing a screenplay about a woman named Simone de Beauvoir, an early feminist who wrote a book called The Second Sex. So very feminist. And I have some other projects too. So I'm writing a screenplay and I'm filming some things. I'm not quite sure. I'm not quite sure if I'll be here next year or what film will be next. I'm not quite sure yet, but it's so nice to be here. This is actually my 5th film at Sundance in 5 years, so I'm very, very grateful. I've been very busy. Thank you so much.
I wish you a lot of luck. Thank you. Good luck with your new work.
Thank you so much. It's really a pleasure to meet you. And I also want to say I want more films about people with disabilities, because I think these stories need to be told. And I love working with people with disabilities. And I think
Thank you.
very important. Okay.
I trust them.
Okay, great.
Yeah, and it's actually in post-production right now.
Yes.
And we're raising more funds to Kickstarter.
Great.
So check it out.
I love to. Thank